in for 300 here at Orange City 1-2 No Limit Hold'em. We're starting the action off right here with King, Queen of Hearts, under the gun 1. There is a button straddle and a small blind raise to 15. I could make a case for 3-betting here, but in this case, because of how tight the small blind's range usually is, I decided to put in the call. We do get a king high flop, although there are 2 diamonds, so I should really be betting when he checks to me. Instead, I check, and we unfortunately see the 5 of diamonds on the turn. He does, at this point, decide to bet out for 20, which is about half pot. I think, I could make the case for folding, but that seems a little weak at this point, so I put in the call. And unfortunately, we do get a 4th diamond on the river, but when he checks to us, I decide to check back and table the king, and it turns out I am good enough to win a $67 pot. Hit that thumbs up button if you've taken a pot off of me here at Orange City. I know it's been a while since I've posted a video, but I've been learning new tools like DaVinci Resolve. I'm trying to really increase the production value of what I'm doing. I hope that you guys appreciate that. And let me know in the comments if there's anything I can do to make the videos more entertaining. So in this case, we are on the button. We get a handful of limps to us, and we do have ace-king offsuit. So I decide to raise it up, and we get 1 call almost immediately from the small blind. We get a handful of other people who fold, and a guy on the other end of the table goes all in for a little bit less than the $20 that I put out there. And then finally the action comes back around to the cutoff, who does decide to put in the call. I have to take a peek because did I have a club? Did I have a spade? Did I have a heart? Did I have a diamond? I think it's really important, especially multi-way, to consider your suited outs. I would expect there to be a lot of middle pairs, and so when we see a flop that's 9, 7 of hearts, 4 of clubs, it's not especially great for us. The guy on my right checked out of turn after waiting for a few seconds, and then I was like, hey ma'am, did you check? Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, you're the button? I thought I was the button. And I'm like, no, let's get it right. So they both checked to me. I put out a C-bet of $20, and now she's laughing. She's like, oh, I should have raised or something. And I'm like, people never say that when they're actually strong. So when she puts in the fold, like, it's pretty clear that my read on that was right. It does go to the cutoff, who thinks it over for a few seconds and then decides to fold as well. So we are heads up against the main pot. I get to take down a little juicy side pot, so I'm kind of hedging my bets here. And hey, we get double heart runouts, so my king is just really, really good here, right? Like, there's no way this guy's gonna have ace of hearts here. So I do win the whole pot, and we move on to the next hand. All right, buckle up, guys. This one is going to be a fun hand. Let's see if you can walk through the analysis with me and arrive at the same conclusion that I do. We start as typical 1-2 fashion with virtually the entire card room limping in front of us. I think they even got people in from the parking lot to limp this hand. But when we look down to ace-queen on the button, this is a mandatory raise. I'm in the best position. Nobody else has shown strength, so I put in the raise, and we get 1, 2, 3, 4 field callers. So we are 5 ways to the flop. This is ridiculous. But look at that flop. Top 2. There's no way I can lose this hand, guys. There's no way, right? So they check, first 2 players check, and then we see a donk from the low jack for $25. Now this is like a half pot donk, but 25 is still like kind of a chunky bet at 1-2. So when the guy to my right, the cutoff, folds, obviously we're not going to raise, but we're definitely not folding. So I'm going to call. He still could have sets. There could very easily be pocket 3s here. There could be ace 3, which I'm dominating. There could be even some goofy queen 3s, like queen 3 of diamonds or queen 3 of clubs could play as a donk. But when we get a king of diamonds on the turn, he checks to us, and now it's my turn to bet. I think I can put in maybe a decent bet. Maybe I don't love a half pot, which is what I do here for $50. I think I either have to go small or big. He's never going to donk lead with Jack 10, right? Because if they do that, when players donk lead with a big draw and they hit their draw, they just keep betting. They don't check, right? So he never in a million years has Jack 10. So I could probably go really big here on this turn in retrospect, but I did make it half pot, and he just called. So now we get to the river with a king of clubs, and he donks again for $100 for a half pot donk. This is a double donk. Like, what is going on here? This is such an unusual line. And so I have to go back in my head and think through it. Like, could he be doing this with pocket 3s? Yeah, I think so, because sometimes the pocket 3s will get a little scared that Jack 10 called behind, right? Like, he let out the turn. Even though I was a pre-flop raiser, like, I could be raising with suited Jack 10, right? and then I hit the straight, so he checks, and when I put in the bet, he's like still feels too strong to fold, so he calls and then decides that he boats up. So I finally do get around to folding, and he shows ace king, like ridiculous, right? Like he didn't raise he limp called ace king with 2 players between pre-flop. Like that just doesn't make any sense, but I made the right read, right? Like I got away from it. So congrats to me. Next hand is a little bit smaller, a little bit small ball. I do have king 6 of hearts, and when I'm in the cutoff against a weak button, I'm going to be opening a lot wider. I'm going to be playing like I'm the button, and I just haven't seen any 3-betting at all from this nice woman on my left, so I have plenty enough reason to open, and we do get 1 call from under the gun, so we are heads up to a flop. And, in this case, I'm going to be c-betting with pretty high frequency against 1 player, especially, if he checks to me, it's pretty straightforward. I do have a little bit of a hard backdoor. I do have a king just in case we get like a straightening card, like a 10 or an ace on the turn. So when he does check to me, I do put in a little bit more than a half pot c-bet. I don't love that size in retrospect. I think I'd prefer more closer to half pot or smaller. But that does get the trick done, and he does fold, and we win a small one. Before we get into the next hand, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I don't know if that's possible, but it would be kind of cool. We do get 1 limp from the man on my right, and I open to 15 with 8-7 of diamonds. It's a little bit of a big size, but the lady on my left is quite a bit of a loose passive player, so I'm very happy to see her call. We do get a call from the button as well, and then finally closing the action, the guy on my right calls. So we are 4 ways to the flop for a $60 pot. This is like a huge pot, right? We get an ace of diamonds, a jack 8 of hearts, so when it checks to me, I go ahead and check because I'm not really going to blast off against 4 people on an ace-high board. We do get an all-in for $13 only from the button. So when the guy on my right calls, I'm getting a hell of a price here. I mean, I could get a diamond on the turn and things could get spicy, or we could get an ace of spades on the turn, and if he bets, I fold. But he doesn't. He checks, so I check. And we pick up a 3 of diamonds on the river. That's inconsequential. I think I literally said out loud, that card doesn't help either of us. He checks to me, and I check it, and I'm like, my 8's not good, right, guys? Like, somebody's got an ace, somebody's got a jack, and no, they both muck. So I take down a $90+ pot with 3rd pair. Hey, let me know in the comments, do you guys like the snappier editing style of Wolfgang Poker, or do you like the more slow and deliberate style like this? When we see the cutoff open for 15, we look down to black 8s. This is a mandatory play. I'm not going to fold, but I do put in the call, and we are heads up to the flop. We get jack deuce of clubs with a 3 of hearts. This is going to be a 100% check to him, and he bets 20, which is about half pot. At this point, I still do have some over pairs to some ace 3, ace 2, those types of holdings, so I put in the call, which I don't necessarily mind. We do get a 9 of clubs on the turn, which is a little bit of an interesting card because this does open up the possibility of a backdoor flush. So when I check to him and he bets half pot, 35 into about 70, this is kind of like, I think I need to call here. I could make the case for just folding because now a 9 beats me as well. But I do put in the call, and we are off to the river, which is a 9 of diamonds. Now, at this point, I check. I think this is a give up. 100% I should be thinking about giving up, but maybe in the moment I thought he was bluffing. He puts in an $80 river bet, and I snap it off, and he has 5-3 of clubs, so congrats to him. I mean, he led into me. I could have raised pre-flop. I could have done a bunch of stuff, but I donated at the end of that one. In this next hand, we have ace 9 offsuit, and I'm on the button in a multi-way bomb pot. And I did not take notes on exactly what the board composition was, but I do remember that this specific hand I had an ace on the bottom board. So when all the players checked to me, I put in a bet of $40 into a pot of about $40. I think I was hoping to just take down the pot right there, given how weak everybody appeared. But I did get one call from the big blind, the effective big blind, And when we get a turn and he sticks it all in, I called, I think it was about another $50, and I showed the ace, and I think he had a straight on the top board, so we take that one down. We are playing six-handed in this hand, but as you'll see, this is still a very action table, so when it limps to me, I'm going to open 420 with king, queen offsuit. And normally this sizing would be too big to get any calls, but as you'll see, we get a 3-bet from the button to 65. And when it folds back to us, I think this is a little bit too strong for me to just fold out. I definitely don't want to raise off here because I could still easily be up against aces, kings, jacks, or ace-king suited, so we want to see what the flop brings, and in this case, I hit the king. King, 9 of hearts, 3 of clubs, and in 3-bet pots, I'm out of position. I'm going to range check to my opponent because he's more likely to make mistakes against a range check than against a donk. And so when he bets for 45, that's a little bit on the small side. I do think that if he had a much stronger hand like aces, he would probably get a little bit greedy here and bet bigger, especially since sometimes players at recreational levels tend to be a little scared of a flushing card on the turn. So I am not too worried about putting in the call here. I still could be up against ace-king, so I think I do need to check when the 9 of diamonds rolls off. And fortunately, he does decide to check behind, so now I'm not really putting him on ace-king very often. And we do see, interestingly, the 3 of hearts come on the river. So this is a double paired board, but it did flush out. This is an interesting spot, so I think at this point I do decide I want to go for a bluff, so I put in a $55 bet. I am thinking I'm bluffing against hands like ace-3, which in retrospect I don't think would ever fold here. I do think I could get some flushes to fold, especially weaker flushes like Jack 10 of hearts, or maybe 7 8 of hearts, who might have gotten spicy pre-flop but then decided he ran into a brick wall. But I definitely put him in the blender. You can see that he's really worried. He finally puts in the call and I'm like, I think you're good, dude. Like, you're good. Here, I only have a king, you know, that's all I've got. And then agony, he folds. What? So I win a $327 pot with a king on a double paired and flushed board. So what was he calling me with? An ace high? Did he think we were going to chop? I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Little time has gone by and the table has filled up with a few more characters. I always like to be in the middle of the action, and I love it when the table fills up with people because it just creates more action. So we see the cutoff open to 11 and the button calls, and I've got the daggers. I start having evil thoughts. What am I going to do here? How am I going to make the most money? Now I'm going to 3-bet. I do make it 35, which in retrospect I think is a little bit on the small side. I think you're supposed to go 4x the original bet plus however many callers are in between, especially when you have aces, right guys? You can always bet bigger when you've got bigger hands. 1-2 players, 2-5 players, recreational players don't really notice the difference all the time between bet sizing. But we do get a call from the cutoff and the button folds, so we are heads up to the flop. It is a queen 9-8 rainbow flop. This is not dangerous for me at all. I'm going to check out of position to him as I would do even if I had nothing, and he does check back. So I don't think that he's going to be particularly strong here. I think in retrospect I probably could have bet a lot smaller, but I do put in a half pot size bet of 46, 45, and he shows 6 deuce of spades, so yeah, I mean, he said, I tried to give you action, and he shows me the 6 deuce of spades. I'm like, hey, I appreciate the action, man. I'm never mad when people call me when I have aces, like, let's go. You know, I'll go all the way to the mats on that one. Do me a favor, if you like what you see so far, hit that thumbs up button for me, hit that subscribe button for me. It really helps me out a lot, and it lets me know that you guys care about me producing this kind of content. We look down to ace 4 of hearts in the button, and it was limped all the way to me. I should always raise this, right? If you get a ton of limpers in front of you, like, there's just not any strength there. If somebody does limp raise you, it's always aces, so, you know, it's pretty straightforward. But we do get an ace high flop and a heart back door, so when Everybody checks to me again. It's time to start building a pot, right? I'm gonna get some value from some draws. If there's a 9-8 out there, if there's a Jack 9 out there, there's a lot of hands that could call here for a small bet. We do get one caller from the small blind and a turn 3 of diamonds, and when he checks to me again, I bet another smallish bet. You know, I want to see if he's got any real strength. He does think it over a little bit and fold, and I take down a small pot. Next interesting hand of the session, I have ace king offsuit. I'm under the gun, so I open and I get one call. I check and the guy bets $30. I completely missed. I didn't record the board, but I missed, so I just went ahead and folded. The next hand we have 10-9. I'm in the cutoff. I open and we get one call. They check to me and I bet 15, and actually there were two callers. They both fold. One of the reasons that I love making these videos is that I get to go back and re-watch some of my play, and I get to kind of see things for the second time that I didn't see for the first time. In this hand, I have 8-7 of diamonds. I'm under the gun. I put in a bet, and I'm like, somebody please call me. There's a high-end promotion on, right? I'm trying to drum up a little bit of business, and we get 5 callers, right? So maybe a little more than I bargained for. But what a great flop for 8-7 of diamonds. I have top pair. I have a diamond back door. There's not going to be a lot of strong hands here. I mean, sure, you know, there could be sleeper sets. It's probably not going to be a lot of aces or kings here, though, because nobody raised me, 3-bet me pre-flop. We do get 2 callers when I c-bet, both the hijack and the cutoff. And then, hey, I turn an 8 of hearts. So now I have top 2 pair on a really bad bottom board, right? 5-4 doesn't make a straight. 5-6 doesn't make a straight. Ace-4 doesn't make a straight, right? So I bet 45, and I think in retrospect this was a little too big. I probably should have bet something like 25. Well, it puts the hijack in the tank. He's thinking and thinking and thinking, and then finally he does put in a call, and the cutoff snap calls behind him. So, okay, maybe I'm good here, but maybe not. I think, you know, in retrospect, all of my alarm bells should have been going off. And we do get a queen of clubs on the river, and that's an effective brick on this board. So I check, and the hijack goes into the tank again. Like, what is he thinking about here? So, you know, I am surprised when he finally choo-choos $125 across the line, and the cutoff snap folds. So now it's my turn to tank. What could he have here? You know, is it sets? Is it sets? Or is it, oh shit, it's a set. It's a set of 3s. Like, I should know better, right? Like when he tank calls the turn and then tank jams the river, that's never gonna be a bluff. In this next spot, finally, it's my turn to straddle a button. I like to straddle, especially when there's a lot of action players at the table, because it just effectively raises the stakes and magnifies the mistakes that my opponents are going to make, and maybe sometimes that I'm going to make. But we do see everybody limps to me, and I've got pocket 8s. There's no reason for me not to raise here. Like, it's just, people just limp too much, right? They just limp way too much. So I put it up to 35 in order to try to induce a few folds and maybe get one call. And I do get a call from the cutoff. So we are heads up to the flop. And look at that sweet baby there. I get a 8 with pocket 8s. That makes a set of 8s. And there's an ace jack. So when he checks to me, I think I actually like this small bet, looking back on it, because this kind of forces him to continue with a lot of like king jack, queen jack, where normally he'd be able to kind of snap fold if I made a 2/3 size pot bet. So he does continue, and we get a king of diamonds on the turn. This is kind of shaky for me, but he only has $17 left, and so I snap call. I mean, you know, what am I going to do? And then he mucks his cards, and I'm like, no, come on, man. Come on, get your cards back. Show the cards. You might win. And he does have ace-10. So, I mean, kind of interesting that he just kind of thought for sure he was dead on that turn. He had a 10, but I think he was just kind of in desperation mode. A little bit later, we have 10-8 of spades under the gun in a straddled pot. This is maybe a little bit of an ambitious open, given how early position I am, but this table has not been 3-betting that often, so I don't mind so much, especially when it folds around and only the button calls. We do see ace-ace-7 with the 7 of spades. So I check because I'm out of position to him, and he puts in a $15 bet. This is a little bit on the small side, so I don't mind calling here to see what transpires on the turn. And we get a 8 of diamonds, so that's pretty good for us, actually. So when I check and he checks back, now I don't think he has that many aces in his range here, right? So I put in a little bit of a river bet, 25, and he folds, so we take down a $93 pot with 3 pair. A little bit later in the session, I have ace-5 offsuit in the small blind. It's a limped pot. I go ahead and limp too, and hey, we hit an ace-high board. I check, and it does check all the way around, so the turn is a 5 of clubs. Now I've got 2 pair. In retrospect, I don't really love the check twice here. There's just not a lot of strength, but we do get a bet from the big blind and a call from the player on the other end of the table. And at this point, I think I am going to put in the 3 bet, so I make it 35 to go. And we can already see the player on the other end of the table acting to fold. He's already, looks like he's pretty disgusted with his hand. And eventually the big blind folds, and so does the guy on the other end. We take down a chunky little pot. Some time goes by in the session and the table is filled up again, and we are back to our 1-2 normal antics of everybody limping. I've got queen 10 off in the big blind. I decide to take this one to the streets. I make it 12 to go. In retrospect, I probably should have made it 15 or 17. Put in a good kind of a chunky bet, because a lot of times it just doesn't yield enough folds when you make a smaller bet multi-way like that. But we do only get 1 caller in the hijack, and we get a king 9-8 rainbow board. I defaulted to a range check, but I think in retrospect, with a gutter draw like that, I should be betting out. Instead, we get an ace on the turn when he checks back, and I decide to bet then, but it should be a much bigger bet. An ace is a scare card for him as much as it is for me, and since I didn't make it big enough, now we get to the river. There's 42 in the pot, and he hasn't shown a ton of strength, so I make it 30. I think in retrospect, I can overbet. Because if he's got something really strong, he's going to raise off on the flop. He's going to raise off on the turn. Instead, I put in 30, and he calls, and he shows an 8. So, yeah, definitely an overbet would have worked there. We have king 10 off in the cutoff, and everybody's limp to me, so I make it 15 to go. And that does yield enough folds where we get around to under the gun and under the gun 1 who call. So we are 3 ways to a flop with $40 in the middle. It is all hearts, queen 10 7. So I do pick up a pair of 10s, and when they check to me, I'm going to check back. We get a brick on the turn. They both check to me again. Now I'm going to go for some value here, because I think if they had had 2 hearts, they would have led on the flop or the turn. If they'd had a single heart, they might have called, but we do get a call, and then a brick on the river. I show that I have a 10. He says he has a 10 too, but I've got a king, so my kicker nets me an $80 pot. Next up, we have 9-5 of clubs in a double board bomb pot. There is about $50 in the middle, and since I have a pair on the top and a club draw on the bottom, when it checks to me, I don't mind the bet here. I think in retrospect, I'd probably bet a little bit smaller. I mean, 40 into 50 is kind of chunky, but given that I could easily be outdrawn or outgunned here by sets or 2 pairs. But instead, I do get 1 call from the guy on my left and 1 call from the guy on the other end, and we pick up trips on the top board on the turn. The bottom board's a brick, so when they check to me, I think at this point I can put the pedal to the metal, given that I have trips now. I think if somebody had a set of queens or a set of 7s, they would have raised off on the flop. But instead, we get 1 call from the guy on my left, and the guy on the other end only had $3 behind. So now we are effectively heads up to the river, which is a brick for both boards. But there's $94 in the side pot, so I have kind of a decision here. Do I want to bluff raise and try to take down the $94, or do I want to risk a chop against the guy on my left? I decide to go for it. I make it 168 effective to win 262 total. And that puts him in the blender, and man, he is talking it over. He's looking at me. He's like, "Oh, I don't know. I think I know what you have. I think I'm right. And he folds, and we show that we have just a trip 5s, and the other guy tables Jack 10. So the guy on the left was so upset, and he was like, oh, you know what, I should have called. He had ace Jack, and but that a queen would have beaten him on both boards, so I understand the fold. So I put maximum pressure and win the side pot there. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Tell everybody that you know how much of a donkey I am based on this hand alone. This is a massive pot. Under the gun is a very aggressive player. I've seen him going nuts for like 15, 20 minutes already. He makes it 15 to go, and the low jack calls. I look down and I've got pocket jacks on the button. This is a dream spot, right? So I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna make it 50. That I think is an appropriate 3-bet, given that there is one player in between. You know, I could even go bigger. I could make like 60 or 70 here, and I might get a call. It folds back to the under the gun player, and he thinks it over. He's definitely taking his time with this one, and then he finally decides to 3-bet me to 170. 170. Yeah, that's real. So at this point, the low jack folds, and you know, this guy's so aggressive against a lot of other players here. I could probably fold out, you know, especially some of the tighter players that we tend to run into here. But this guy, I don't know. I just have a feeling that he's maybe doing this with like ace queen. I mean, ace king is definitely in the 3-bet range for most people. This guy for sure, you know, I could see him doing this with like ace 10 suited, or even maybe sometimes like pocket 10s. Pocket 9s. So we do put in the call. We get, oh, we hit a jack. We got a set, baby. We're getting paid. And he jams all in for 137. I snap it off. I've got a set. What do you have? Oh, no. He has aces. And the board runs out king. So even if he had ace king, I would have gotten stacked here. I mean, is this a cooler? What do you guys think? Can you ever fold? I mean, he 3-bet pre with about half of his stack. So I had a feeling it was going to go all in no matter what, and you know, when I see ace jack, I'm thinking, oh, if he's got ace queen, he's gonna jam it, right? And you know, it's just one of those things where I think I just ran into a bad here. Okay, that wraps up the session. We were in for 400, out for 48 after getting coolered for $600 something at the end. That was over 3.5 hours, and we are a net loser in that session.